Hello everyone, this is General Hand Grenade. Welcome to my war room in Prince George, British Columbia. So today's video I'm going to go over what happened in my first game of Global War 1914 since its release, was it last week or the week before? Anyway, I think I think it's for sale now, not just the pre-orders, but the pre-orders are almost all sent out, and they're starting to take orders for the regular game now. So I've already had my first game, and my good friend Rank Carcass came to town. He lives in Edmonton. He drove here through the forest fires, tons of forest fires already on Highway 16 between Edmonton and Prince George. It's about 500 miles for you Americans, about 800 kilometers for the rest of you. Anyway, he came and we played a game of Global War 1936 version 4. We haven't played that one yet. He didn't have the game yet, and for me, I had the game, but I was busy with the 14 game, trying to finish it off and get it out the door, so to speak. So I couldn't put it on my table other than when I first got it to take a look at it, right? But anyway, we've been really busy with this game. So anyway, we finally got a chance to play it, and we loved it. And then we took it off the table and took a day in between, and we slowly set this game up, and then we played it, and this game was a lot of fun too. I got to tell you, say a year and a half, 2 years ago, I thought that the 1914 game was a decent game, and it was hard, like it was difficult, but it wasn't as much fun as I had wanted it to be, right? There was just still too many flaws in it, but Bob and I worked really hard, and of course Will worked hard before that, getting the game to a certain point, and then we took over, and we took it the rest of the way. And we kind of streamlined it, and added some things, and I really like it, after actually playing a game with another person, a couple of guys around the table. It was a lot of fun to play. And I did play a game recently, of course, you might have seen the videos on that, by myself, and I thought, well, this seems like a good game. But when you actually get together and you play it, that's when you're going to find out how fun it is. And RC really enjoyed it as well. I think he played it like 4 or 5 times when we were play testing it. Every time he came to town, we play tested. Of course, it'd be different every single time, right? But this time it's completed, and he really liked it. He thought it was a really good game. Anyway, why don't I show you what happened here? So before I show you, we didn't actually get to the end of the game. Part of the reason why is because he's not as experienced as me at this game. Like, I've played it a number of times, and he's hardly played it, right? And when he did, it was a different game. So we didn't make it to the end because, well, here, let me just show you right now. Germany, do not have much left there. We'll get up there and we'll take a closer look, but Austria, Hungary, like Italy's in there, Russia's in there, and then you look over here, and the British and the French are all over the Germans. So the game was over. The Americans have already landed, and where are we here? We're still in the fall-winter of 1917, so we've got another turn of 1917. And we could have played on. We had more time, but we thought, you know what, the winter turn is not going to be much. Like, you'll find out when you play this game. The winter turn, not as much happens because there's only one round of combat. So, you can try an offensive, but in only one round of combat, you might not get anywhere. You might just lose more units than it's worth. You got to expect to lose a lot of units when you play this, because the defense is stronger than the offense. But, like, the offense the payoff is if you take enough, then you can still get the territory. But in only one round of combat, that's not going to happen, right? You're just going to probably lose some shit, and that's about it, right? Anyway, let's just take a look over here. So the Ottomans actually did pretty good. They kept the British out, and they've got trench lines down here. They've got defense in depth, which means they only need 4 infantry for a trench line. So they've got the British blocked off down here. But I think that they probably put too much stuff down there. Again, a little bit of inexperience on his part. They should have gone after the Russians a little bit harder and a little bit sooner. He was going after them now, but that's only the last 2 turns or so that he's been doing that. Not enough pressure put on the Russians. We've already had 3 rolls to see if we would go to the Russian Revolution, but because Russia's doing so well, you got to hit a high number. Like I think all 3 times he had to hit 11 or 12 in order to send the Russians to revolution, and that's tough to roll, right? You can see the Austrian Navy here. He did good. It was actually a pretty good idea. He took the Austrian Navy out of there before Italy closed it, because you can see there's a mine there. That's a narrow crossing that Italy owns, and you have to. Here, let me just show you. You have to own this territory in order to cross through there, or you have to force the strait. Every ship's got to get a shot at it, 3 or less, in order to get out of there or into there, right? So he took them out just before Italy joined the war, and then he moved them over into here, the Black Sea, which was a pretty good idea because nobody can get into the Black Sea with the Ottomans owning the straits there. So that was actually a pretty good idea. And he just took them out now because you can see like how badly the Central Powers were behind. He thought, well, let's just take them out and see what kind of mess we can make, right? But then now the French are hunting them down. You see I got some French boats here, French boats up there, and then there's a cruiser down here as well. So the French have them outgunned, and they're not going to go anywhere. And the other thing was like Japan and Italy both joined the Entente, and Italy has already dispatched the Germans out of here. It's only a matter of time before you do that, and now you can see they're on their way over to see what kind of trouble they could stir up, probably with the Ottomans, right? The Ottomans are the closest ones, so that they're taking as many units as they have over there, and that's about all you can do as the Japanese. They don't have as much money as if you're a Central Powers, Japan, so their role after they take the Germans out of the Pacific is pretty limited, right? The one thing that he did do well in this game with the Central Powers is he was playing the warlords with the Central Powers, right? And they were given the nationalist fits. I was the nationalist, right? You can look. It looks like the nationalists are doing well, but they're not really. Like there's still warlord up here, warlords here, and warlords all up there. And there's only a couple of turns left in the game, so we were probably going to split those points. Or he might have even taken 2 and I take none. It depends. Like I don't know how it was going to end, but man, he just kept stealing my money. There was a couple of warlords that card we pulled that, you know, the nationalists got money. It says steal the nationalist money and spend it right now. Damn you. Anyway, so that kept happening to me, and he did well in there. So let's just move around a bit. Like you can see, we got through most of the deck here. The build queue, the Americans were just starting to build dreadnoughts. They just went to the war, I think last turn, right? And then we knew it was over because the Germans couldn't get anywhere. So they kind of put too much stock into the Eastern Front. It's not that he played badly. He just you got to have the right balance if you're the Germans, and the Germans are the key, of course, to the Central Powers, right? If Germany loses, then the whole team loses, right? So he put a little bit too much. It doesn't look like it now because he's had to shift them back to Berlin, but he had a little bit too much over here. Spent a lot on the Austrians over here, right? And then the French and the British collapsed the Western Front there and moved in. So now, like the French have this place. They also attacked this place here at the same time. This had a bunch of stuff in it. So the French from here, they attacked this and attacked Western Germany. And they almost took this one out, but they did take out West Germany. And there's tons of units in there too. Like the British have about 20 guys there. They got all kinds of gas. The British and the French both have gas. And see, that's the difference. RC hadn't played the game as much, so he wasn't using the gas, and he wasn't buying the right combination of units on the trench lines, right? It looks like he's strong here, but that's all he's got, right? And of course, you only have so many manpower icons on the board, and with only 2 territories, he can only put that many, or actually he's got 3 territories. He can only put that many infantry class units on the board. So really, I mean, he was going to last through the winter turn, of course, because there's no way I could take all of those out in one turn. But then the next turn, of course, probably 2 turns from now, Berlin would have fallen, and perhaps Austria as well, because he was, like I said, he was going really hard over here against the Russians, trying to collapse them, and he didn't put enough over here to stop the Italians, so the Italians just walked right in, and then the last turn they went here. They only need to take out this spot and this spot here, and then the Austrians would have surrendered. Berlin's lost, and the Germans would have surrendered, and then of course the Japanese coming with the British and the French. It was only a matter of time before the Ottomans surrendered as well. So we stopped playing, and we decided, let's just hang out, because we're good friends, and we were busy playing 2 games back to back. We'd had enough, knowing that the outcome was not in doubt, and that they were going to have to, they would have surrendered before the end of the game, whether the player wanted to surrender or not. The countries would have been lost, right? So that's what we did. He had a pretty good navy. Here it was a large navy, and in fact he did lose some, so he attacked. I had a bunch of ships right here, so he attacked that, and the British, they were bigger than the British Navy for the most part in the North Atlantic here. The rest of the board, though, the British had lots of ships, because he didn't come out of the Baltic Sea with the German ships. The British were able to use their ships down in the Middle East and down in the Indian Ocean. And man, one thing he did do really well is the convoying. Not only with his subs, he still has 1 sub there. I finally got the technology to take out his subs. You don't have as much technology as you do in World War II to try to stop the Germans' submarines, but the subs are just as powerful in World War I as they are in the 36 games. So the Germans pretty much have free range of the oceans. Plus they have cruiser raiders, and I've taken the last cruiser raider out. That's why these guys are here. They had taken down the last cruiser raider, but he got me with tons of money against the British and the French. The French have convoy lines too in this game, because they're not just a bunch of surrender monkeys, right? They actually have a role in this game other than surrendering early. And the Americans, of course, they're not much part of the game, but the Germans did. If you remember my solo game there, they pretty much did the same thing. They took Argentina and Chile. The Americans had taken it back just this last turn there. And also they had taken Mexico, and the Americans had taken that back as well. And then they've got their transport shot going from here to here to here, and then strategic naval moving back to here. And so as if they really were needed over here. They weren't really, but anyway, it was just more of a case of me knowing how to play the game, how to use all of the things to my advantage, such as building artillery in the United States for cheap, and doing that every turn, remembering to do it constantly, and using the right combinations of technology and everything. And it's going to take everybody a while to get up to speed on this. So that's why I didn't want to show too much in my game there, because if you'd watched my videos and I showed you how to win, and then your friends didn't, well, it's going to be a pretty lopsided game, right? So the fact that you're all starting in the same spot pretty much is a good thing as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, I'll show you the one thing that you didn't see during my solo game, and that is the player aids. So here's the technology chart over here. Kind of looks like the ones from the 36 game, but different pictures on it, and of course different technologies as well, right? And there's the IPP tracker. You can see it tells you at the top there what things are happening that turn and the mandatory offensives. We got the battle boards here. Here, let me just try to get it so that, okay, there you go. So there's the defending battle board and the attacking side of it. There's not nearly as many units as there is in the 36 game. The complexity is more in the diplomacy of this game. I'd say that both these games are about as complex as each other. The units is harder in 36 because there's so many of them. But in this game, the diplomacy, like I said, and also selecting casualties. Selecting casualties is huge in this game, what you take off. And again, that was an advantage that I had over my opponent in this game. And he'd probably tell you too, if he was talking to you, that like I was saying earlier, that it's going to be difficult to play on YouTube because you're really playing for yourself and the defender at the same time. You're not playing together. And so one person would select a certain type of casualty, whereas another person wouldn't. And sure, you can talk about it ahead of time, but you know, like you can only say so much, you know, depending on how much you lose, depending on how much they lose. You know, it's really, you kind of got to get a feel for it. And so it is going to be a little difficult to play. You can still do it. It's just, you know, I could see there being a lot of disputes as to what should have been taken and shouldn't have been taken. So anyway, here is the diplomacy chart. And it's basically the same as my playtest one, except for it's prettier, right? And then there's two parts of it. Like this was supposed to be the back of it, but I was saying to him, what do you mean the back of it? How am I supposed to read it? You know, this is on the wall, and if it's not on the wall, well, you got to take all the things off to read the back of it. So we had to make two of them, right? And it's so that you can see what all these are. And since we had to make another one, there's all the rules to play the diplomacy, right? So you don't even have to look through the rule book when it comes to diplomacy because it's all right here. It explains it all and everything. Here, let me just grab something else here. Something that we weren't using because we didn't think we would get to the end is the victory chart. And that just, you know, you can put your roundels on here to try to keep score, right? There's the victory city, there's the German victory points in Austria, and you know, so on and so forth, right? So that's the other player aid that you get is that. And then this is the last thing, I guess. I showed it a bit earlier, but 4-stage build queue. As you can see, there's not as many units on it, right? There's no aircraft carriers, and the facilities are the same, but the only ships that are on there are the Dreadnought, the pre-Dreadnought, and the cruiser, and that's why it looks like there's not much on there, is because there isn't as many large things that go in the game that you would need multiple turns to get. Just the factories and some of the bases like the shipyards and dockyards and ports. That's about it though. Somebody had made a comment the other day about he got his map and he was pretty excited because these things fit on it. Well, of course they do. That was the whole point when we made those things. That I think we actually might have been making them for this game. Originally, the idea, I could be wrong about that, but anyway, they were intended to be for both of these games. And I don't know about the next game that's coming out. Maybe like if it's 1985 or whatever game it is, I would assume that they will fit on those maps as well. Like regardless of how they cut up the territories and what color they are, the impassable zones would probably be the same. Anyway, they're exactly the same in this game, so the 3D printed terrain features fit on both of these maps. And like I said, probably going to be the same on the future maps. There wasn't much of a battle going on down in Africa. You can only do so much. You can't choose everything. And so the battles were really limited down here, just a couple of very small engagements. There's not much money available down here, so it's not really worth putting a whole lot into it, right? Like if the Italians went to the Central Powers, I don't know, maybe that changes something, right? And there is lots going on up around the Suez, but just like in World War One, there wasn't much going on down here. Colonial troops fighting just like we had, right? I mean, there isn't any major offensives going on down there. Some of the countries didn't go in the diplomacy. We tried, but especially the Netherlands, it'd go up, it'd go down, up, down, because nobody wanted the other person to get the Netherlands, right? And so we tried for it, and the other guy would knock you down. And Spain is another good one, and Spain didn't go; it's still neutral. And then there's a lot of countries that really aren't something that you would want anyway. Not enough to spend money trying to get on your side, like Bolivia here. Bolivia is not worth any money, right? There's no ships that come with it, so why would you spend $1 times 4 and probably more than 4, because probably 7 or 8 at least to get a country when you're trying to get it. You're trying to roll a 3 or less, right? So like some of them, like Belgium here, I think I rolled Belgium every single turn, and so did he. So Belgium never went anyway to either side. But like here's the Netherlands down here, still managed to get Spain up to here. But yeah, Belgium has been sitting here, sometimes here. Like it just kept going back and forth. It didn't go to either side. So yeah, but the diplomacy aspect is a lot of fun though. And the fact that you can use the country before it gets to the end, like you're collecting money for it. We didn't use the bases too much, but that'll come in time when you learn to play the game better. So anyway, that's all I got for you. There's just one more thing that I want to mention before I go though. I was looking on YouTube, on my channel there. I knew I was getting close, but I will probably be at 1 million views by the end of the weekend. Who knows, maybe even by the end of today, I don't know. I'm heading out of town today. But certainly by the end of the weekend, I will be at 1 million views. And as far as I know, that's the only person in this community, Access Anomalies or Global War, that has made it to 1 million views on YouTube. So I'm pretty excited about that. I've said in the past, like when I've had videos about, making 1,000 subscribers or 2,000 or 2,500 or whatever, that I don't really spend much time thinking about that, and I don't. I just do that and I have fun. I'm just happy that people join me, but something that I couldn't have even imagined when I first started was that 1 million people would watch my videos, or my videos would be watched 1 million times, put it that way. So that's something that it kind of blows me away and humbles me. And anyway, so of course we're going to be having a contest. It has nothing to do with this video though, so you're not putting something in the comment section or anything trying to enter it. That's a video that we'll do next week. So look for that next week. There will be a prize, and I got to tell you, it's the best prize I've ever given out, because it's something that, like I said, something that actually humbles me. The other ones didn't. They just, oh, look at that, I made 1,000 subscribers. That's cool. But this is just, I just don't even know what to say about this one. So biggest prize ever, biggest prize as far as I know that anybody's given out in this community. So watch for that next week. Anyway, thank you for joining me today, and take care, everyone. General Hand Grenade out.